Greetings and salutations, knowledge seekers, and welcome to this video. Do you feel that sometimes you are emotionally out of balance, like your mind is completely dominated by one single emotion, whether it's sadness or anger, frustration, or maybe disappointment? Sometimes we're completely taken over by a single feeling or sensation. Well, if you want to improve on that and end up in those kind of situations a little bit less often, perhaps you can look at the wisdom that Stoicism has to offer. And by asking yourself one simple question, I can promise you that you can significantly decrease your emotional instability and feel at emotional balance much more often. Let's get into it. There's no way for us to talk about Stoicism without mentioning the name of the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius. He is not the father of Stoicism, but he's, in my opinion, the person that perfected this philosophical branch. He lived in the 2nd century AD, and as I said, he was a Roman emperor, and he ruled the country or the empire for 19 years. And during that entire period, Rome was at constant wars. For most of that time, they were at war with the Germanic tribes. So it was for extended periods of time away from Rome at the battlefield, and he had to deal with all sorts of troubles and all sorts of administrative issues that any emperor at the time had to handle. Despite all that, he found time every day to journal, and he was journaling mostly for himself, right? It was this routine that he had. It was a way for him to keep his mind at bay, to sharpen his discipline, and to feel more at ease when handling all the other challenges that life constantly threw at him. And that journaling, like most other people, he was doing that for himself, right? He was never really intending on publishing a book. That wasn't really something that was very common in the 2nd century. So it was more for his own pleasure and peace of mind that he spent all this time writing all that wisdom, his takes on certain issues that were relevant for him and his era, right? And those writings became a book. They became a quite influential book at that, Meditations. And as I said, they are a very instrumental part of how we perceive Stoicism and how we deal with a lot of issues, including discipline, including emotions, including handling ourselves and other people, right? But if we keep it to simple concepts, and if we keep it in relation to emotional balance and stability, Marcus Aurelius made a clear distinction between two things. So things that are internal for us, our thoughts, feelings, actions, and things that are external. So everything that has to do with the environment, with other people, and most importantly, with the outcomes of the situations in which we're in. And the clear distinction that he made between those two is that the things that are internal to us are within our control, right? So you're in control of how you think, you're in control of how you perceive a certain situation, you're in control of, even if you will, how you remember a certain interaction, right? Have you ever been in a situation where you felt, after you left, with a little bit of a sour taste in your mouth, like something was off, like it wasn't, even though it felt during the time like it was a nice interaction, maybe you felt a little bit disrespected or a little bit agitated at the other person's behavior? Well, that's your memory, right? You're assigning a certain type of feeling, a certain type of emotion to an interaction that maybe objectively didn't necessarily go exactly as you're thinking. But your feelings, your emotions alter it in your perception, and that's an interpretation that we actually have control over, right? If you choose to remember things in a different way, they look differently to you when you actually go over them and you reminisce and you reflect on your own and other people's behavior. This is our power. This is our ability as humans, as thinking individuals, as rational beings to control ourselves and our emotions and the way we interact with others, but also the way we perceive how others interact with us, right? Because that is not in our control. How the actions of other people are completely beyond what you and I can do. If somebody is being mean or arrogant or disrespectful to you, that's not something that you can control, right? But you can control how you react to this type of nonsensical behavior. Marcus Aurelius has a quote about this specific thing. You would not let another human take over your body, but we constantly let others take over our emotions. I think it's very apropos, right? I think we live in a world where social media and news and, other individuals that come as distractions from our environment are influencing our thoughts way too much, and they're influencing our moods, and they are putting us at this emotional disbalance that we need to address. Again, there's this negative feelings, negative thoughts, negative emotions, single ones that dominate our entire existence, right? Anger, disappointment, sadness. These are things that are, or emotions and feelings that are natural, but we need to be able to get over them and embrace life as such instead of dwelling on only the negative aspects of it, right? And for me, a simple solution to that very complex problem is to ask yourself one question, and one question only. How does that affect me? Pretty straightforward, right? How does the news cycle affect me? How does, Trump making a stupid statement about autism, or taking a stupid decision about sending ICE troops in Portland, how does that affect me as a person that lives in Sweden? Or, I'm very sorry for the people in Portland that have to deal with this nonsense, but I'm not living there, right? I cannot actively do anything about that. So why am I allowing an external factor that has nothing to do with my life or my existence shape my reality for even if it is for a brief period of time, right? Or you want to take it a step further, or a step closer to your everyday life. Let's say that a colleague is being disrespectful to you at work or doesn't listen to your ideas, right? All right. Does that really affect you emotionally? Or in any other way? Objectively speaking, the behavior of somebody that's obviously not well educated or not well brought up, because why would you treat a fellow human being disrespectfully if you can avoid it, right? If it's never necessary, it's never justified. So why would you allow this person that's obviously misbehaving and not following proper social convention to take over your mind and to impede your progress as a human being? How does that affect you really, the stupid behavior of somebody else? Oh, okay, maybe you have an argument with your significant other. That affects you, right? That definitely affects your mood. But is it not possible to maybe talk with that individual, to look at the situation in its complexity, to actually understand the other person's position before you react, before you allow yourself to end up in a situation where a negative emotion takes over your entire being and shapes your reality and your perception of that individual for at least for a brief moment in time? Is it not possible to try to remain within ourselves and to control our emotions to the best of our abilities and extract the best possible outcome of this situation? I firmly believe that it is. I firmly believe that if we ask ourselves this one simple question, how does that affect me? The answer is usually in a very minor way or not at all. And once you come to that realization, it's a lot easier to let go of the simple things and to focus on the positive. Thank you guys for listening and watching. I hope you enjoy my content. If you do, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.